This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk.
This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Mike Anderson. I'm the principal at Brant Avenue Public School.
Do you have any stories that you have of Mr. Schenk?
One of my favorite things about Mr. Schenk is he always has awesome stories to tell me, actually. Sometimes we'll just, chatting in the hall or in the office, and Mr. Schenk's always, he's a super funny guy. I don't know if the students all realize, but he's got so many good stories from students that used to be here, from staff, or from principals, and Mr. Schenk makes me laugh.
Do you have anything you like about Mr. Schenk?
You know what? Mr. Schenk has this incredible attitude towards his job. He works incredibly hard, and he's really proud, and he should be. This Brant is incredibly clean. He's actually legendary in the board for how good he is at waxing the floors. So people always, when they come to the school, especially early on in the year, they're always like, wow, the floors here look amazing. And it's just Mr. Schenk. He knows exactly what to do to strip all the old wax off and clean the floors really well. And then he puts, I think 6 layers of wax on, and it just makes them shine. So that when kids show up in September every year and the staff show up, Mr. Schenk is, he's there, and he's leaning on his broom, and I can tell he's just proud because he's worked unbelievably hard. That guy all year long, but especially over the summer, just like sweating and smiling.
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
I really like Mr. Schenk as a human and as a colleague here at Brant. It's been awesome working with him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him soon when he comes back.
Thank you for coming.
Hey, my pleasure. This has been really fun. Thanks, guys.
This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
5 years and about 3 months.
3 years.
Since I was in kindergarten.
In kindergarten, 2 years.
Since kindergarten. Since the day I came.
6 years.
Since kindergarten?
How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
I think 8 years because of kindergarten. I've known them since kindergarten.
Do you have any stories about Mr. Schenk?
No.
What do you like about Mr. Schenk?
He cleans the classrooms. Oh, yes, I actually do have a story about Mr. Schenk I just thought of. So, in kindergarten, there's these kids. They threw up. So, this is what happened. So, there was this one kid. One threw up, and then the second one threw up in the exact same place because the first one threw up. And then this third kid threw up. It was just it was so disgusting. And then Mr. Schenk came and flew into the room like the Flash. And he cleaned the mess in 5 minutes, and it was super cool.
Is there anything else that you like about Mr. Schenk?
He is nice, and he cleans our school and makes it look good.
Anything you like to add?
No, thank you.
Thank Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
7 or 6, 8 years or so.
Nice. Do you have any stories about Mr. Schenk that you could tell us?
Well, I remember I was in grade 1 and he was in the front yard on the roof of the building throwing balls down. He did that for a couple of days, but I never saw him after he did that 3 times or 2 times.
Actually, I saw him do that in grade 3 or grade 4. I remember that people would kick balls on the roof and then he would just go up and pick them up.
Okay. It was pretty awesome because it was raining balls.
How do you think he got up to the roof?
Ladder. Or he just climbed the bricks.
I don't think that that would be very safe. Or he would do that. What do you like about Mr. Schenk?
I like that he's the immune system of the school. I like how he uses the mop and how he just doesn't stop sweeping for anything, even when kids are in the way. He kind of goes beep beep.
What do you mean by the immune system of the school?
He cleans everything up. So, the immune system kills all the bacteria, and he's cleaning all the bacteria off.
Who would you say the other organs would be?
The school board is the brain. Mr. Anderson is the heart. The students are the blood cells. The EAs are the veins and livers. And
anything else you would like to add?
Yes, I got one question. How does he clean the female's washroom? Is there a female custodian just to clean the female washroom?
It was nice talking to you. Thank you.
This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Mr. Graham.
How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
I've known Mr. Schenk for about 5 years.
What do you like about Mr. Schenk?
I like about Mr. Schenk, let's see. I think Mr. Schenk has a wonderful sense of humor, and he's always around to help. No matter what you need, Mr. Schenk is always around to help you.
Do you have any stories?
Yeah, I remember Mr. Schenk giving me heck once. Would you like to hear that story?
Sure.
I parked in front of the dumpster on a Thursday, and Mr. Schenk is very, very serious about his job, and he came in the morning and asked me to move my vehicle because I was in the way of the dumpsters.
Anything you would like to add?
I miss Mr. Schenk. I miss talking to him. I miss seeing him every morning. I hope he gets better and he comes back to school because he's a nice person. He's a good friend to everybody in the school.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
What do you like about Mr. Schenk?
He's nice, he jokes a lot, he's hilarious. Whenever I come back to school, it's always clean because of him.
He's good at his job. He cleans the school really good.
He's nice.
He helps other people. He's good at cleaning the school.
How he helps you clean up messes that you've made. He cleans.
He's nice and cool. That he has a funny side and a serious side. Mr. Schenk is awesome.
I'm thankful that he cleans.
This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
4 or 5 years.
Do you have any stories about Mr. Schenk?
Yes, I do. So one year, this girl was throwing rice all over the class, and it was a lot of rice. And then it took him like 5 minutes to clean it all up.
Oh. What do you like about Mr. Schenk?
When he has to go to a classroom to clean something up, he's there instantly.
Do you have anything you like to add?
Yeah, I want to add that he is kind, caring, and super generous.
And that is all. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
6 or 7 years.
Do you have any nice stories about Mr. Schenk you would like to talk about with us?
I remember when I was in kindergarten once, and I had a little accident, and I wet myself. He had to come over and clean it all up, and he was really fast when he cleaned it up, like really fast.
What do you like about Mr. Schenk?
He's really nice. He jokes around, and I just miss him a lot. Hopefully he can come back soon.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, thank you.
It was good talking to you.
You too. Thank you. This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Jen Zorzi.
How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
I have known Mr. Schenk just about 11 years.
Anything you like about Mr. Schenk?
I like his jokes and when he comes into gym and dances.
Do you have any stories about Mr. Schenk?
Yes. Sometimes, usually around March, we get a little leprechaun visitor in kindergarten. And Mr. Schenk likes to go up on the roof and walk around so my kids hear the leprechaun walking on the roof.
Anything you'd like to add?
I would like to add, we miss you very much, Mr. Schenk. Stay well and come visit.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Do you have any stories you would like to say about Mr. Schenk?
He would always tell jokes in kindergarten to us.
Mr. Schenk would clean out other people's messes.
How he will help you get all the balls down when you kick it up on the roof.
When I was in grade 2 or 3, I made a big mess and I helped Mr. Schenk clean it up.
This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
For 7 years.
Do you have any stories about Mr. Schenk?
Yeah, when I was younger in kindergarten, he always used to come up to me and say how my day was going, and he was always so nice to me.
What do you like about Mr. Schenk?
That he's always so helpful and kind.
Do you have anything you like to add?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
Well, I've been at Brant Ave for 7 years now. So,
What do you like about Mr. Schenk?
he's funny. He goes in the roof. He kicks our balls off.
Do you have any stories you'd like to share about Mr. Schenk?
Well, when I was in kindergarten, I was trying to open a yogurt tube. And Mr. Schenk walked in,
And then I was like, do you know, like in class when you like twist a yoga tube like that?
I did that before. Yes.
And it popped open, and Mr. Schenk was behind me, and I squirted all over him. And then he was like, better luck next time.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
This is my 8th year.
What do you like about Mr. Schenk?
He's super nice and he appreciates everyone.
Do you have any stories that you would like to share about Mr. Schenk with us?
Whenever he cleans up a mess and I'm near him, he always tells funny stories about the kids who make the messes.
Anything else that you would like to add?
He's just super appreciative and he's the best janitor I've ever had.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is a tribute to Mr. Schenk. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Mrs. Alton. I'm the office coordinator here at Brant Ave.
How long have you known Mr. Schenk?
I've started here about 5 or 6 years ago, and when I started, he was a custodian here. He's been here for a long time, so that's where we met.
What do you like about Mr. Schenk?
He's a hard worker, definitely a hard worker, keeps our school really clean. We always appreciate the amount of work he puts into the school. I like his sense of humor, and he always has a smile on his face when he's cracking some jokes to me.
Do you have any stories you would like to say about Mr. Schenk?
Always a lot of stories. I think to generalize my relationship with him, I always just really enjoyed coming into work and asking him, what's going on, what did you do in the weekend, how's everything going? And he would always tell me stories of stuff that he was doing with his sons or things that him and Joyce were doing. He always had a look in his eyes, a smile on his face when talking about them. He's just so proud of them and loved his wife. So I just enjoyed hearing that passion that he had for them and his family.
Anything else you would like to add?
I think that working with him was always a lot of fun. Talking to him was always interesting. He always had great stories to tell us and myself, and I definitely miss having him around every day. I miss those stories.
All right, that's all. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Charlie in Miss Hessler's class wrote this. Mr. Schenk was a very kind and generous person. He worked really hard for our school and he cared about the kids and everyone. He loved this school like it was his home. I hope that Mr. Schenk can come back to this school. Hope you get better soon.